Greetings, dear listeners and cherished supporters of the Uplifting Audiobook Summary YouTube channel. It's a pleasure to welcome you back to another thought-provoking exploration of ideas that shape our digital world. Today, we journey into the visionary insights of George Gilder's life after Google, the fall of big data and the rise of the blockchain economy. Imagine a world where the very foundations of our online existence are shifting, where the giants of today may falter, and new paradigms emerge. This is not just a prediction, it's a compelling narrative about the future of technology, power, and freedom. So, settle in as we unravel the fascinating rise and potential fall of the age of Google, and the dawn of a new era. For over 2 decades, Google has reigned supreme, weaving itself into the fabric of our daily lives. From search engines to email, maps to artificial intelligence, it has reshaped how we access information, communicate, and even perceive reality. Its influence is so vast that Googling has become synonymous with searching for answers. Yet, beneath the surface of this seemingly benevolent empire lies a critical flaw, one that threatens its dominance. Google's model thrives on big data, offering free services in exchange for personal information. But as Gilder reveals, this system is built on shaky ground, where security is often an afterthought, and user privacy is perpetually at risk. The cracks in Google's fortress are beginning to show. High-profile data breaches, growing distrust in centralized tech monopolies, and the inherent vulnerabilities of a system that hoards but fails to fully protect information have sparked a global reckoning. People are questioning whether the convenience of free services is worth the erosion of privacy and autonomy. And if Google's reign is indeed waning, what will emerge in its place? Enter the Cryptocosm, a revolutionary alternative powered by blockchain technology, cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, and decentralized networks. Unlike Google's top-down control, this new ecosystem prioritizes security, transparency, and individual sovereignty. Blockchain technology is more than just the backbone of Bitcoin, it's the foundation of a new digital economy. By distributing data across a secure, tamper-proof ledger, blockchain eliminates the need for centralized intermediaries like Google. Transactions, contracts, and even identities can be managed peer-to-peer, reducing the risks of hacking and misuse. Gilder argues that this shift isn't just inevitable, it's already underway. From decentralized finance, DeFi, to self-sovereign identity systems, innovators are building a world where power is returned to the people, and trust is encoded in mathematics rather than corporate policies. So, what does life after Google look like? It's a future where privacy is a default, not a premium, where individuals reclaim control over their data and digital lives. It's a world where innovation flourishes without the constraints of monopolistic gatekeepers. And while the transition may be turbulent, the potential rewards are immense. As Gilder's visionary work suggests, the fall of big data could herald the rise of a more equitable, secure, and human-centric internet. For those willing to embrace change, the Cryptocosm offers not just an alternative, but an upgrade. Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey. Stay curious, stay empowered, and as always, keep seeking the uplifting truths that shape our tomorrow. About the author. George Gilder is a visionary voice in economics and technology, whose profound insights have shaped intellectual discourse for over 4 decades. A prolific writer, he has authored 19 groundbreaking books, including Life After Television, 1990, which foresaw the digital revolution, and The Scandal of Money, 2016, a bold critique of modern monetary systems. Beyond his written work, Gilder is a founding fellow of the Discovery Institute, a renowned think tank dedicated to advancing innovative public policy solutions. With a career marked by foresight and intellectual rigor, Gilder continues to challenge conventional wisdom, offering bold predictions about the future of technology, finance, and human freedom. Key Takeaway 1. The hidden architecture of Google's empire, power, data, and the price of free. For decades, Google has stood as the defining force of the digital age, shaping not just how we search, but how we think, communicate, and even perceive reality. At the core of its dominance lies a radical vision, one that treats knowledge not as something to be carefully built, but as something to be seized in its entirety. Unlike traditional models of progress, where understanding grows step by step, Google operates on a different principle: gather every fragment of data in existence, store it in the cloud, and let algorithms extract meaning from the chaos. To achieve this, the company has constructed a vast digital mirror of the real world, one that encompasses not only the internet but books, languages, maps, and even the contours of human faces through facial recognition. Yet this ambition comes at a cost. In Google's world, privacy is not a right, but an obstacle. The engine driving this colossal operation is advertising, an industry where users are not customers, but the product. Nearly all of Google's revenue flows from ads, a business model that demands constant attention and personal data in exchange for free services. The company has refined its techniques to near invisibility, blending sponsored links seamlessly into search results to avoid disruption. But resistance is growing. Between 2015 and 2016 alone, the use of ad blockers surged by 102%, a silent rebellion against the surveillance economy. Behind the scenes, Google's infrastructure sprawls across massive data centers, like the one in the Dalles, Oregon, a facility housing 75,000 servers processing 3.5 billion searches every day. Scale has become the ultimate measure of success in this system. The more data stored, the more power accumulated. Yet this very strength may contain the seeds of decline. Jaron Lanier, a pioneer of virtual reality, has coined a haunting term for these vast data fortresses: siren servers. Like the mythical sirens whose songs lured sailors to destruction, these centers draw companies toward an illusion of invincibility. The deeper they invest in centralized control, the more they risk collapse, whether from security breaches, regulatory crackdowns, or a growing public disillusionment with surveillance capitalism. The question is no longer whether Google dominates, but whether its dominance is sustainable. If the age of big data is reaching its limits, what comes next? The answer may lie in the rise of decentralized alternatives, systems where power is distributed rather than hoarded, where privacy is built into the foundation rather than treated as a flaw. The next chapter of the digital revolution may not belong to those who control the most data, but to those who redefine the rules entirely. The fall of one empire could mark the beginning of another. Key takeaway 2: The myth of the AI apocalypse, why big data doesn't have to mean doom. Google's empire thrives on big data, but does that inevitably lead to runaway artificial intelligence, as so many Silicon Valley elites fear? In January 2017, a clandestine meeting took place in Monterey Bay, California, attended by tech luminaries like Google co-founder Larry Page. Their mission? To discuss the existential risks of AI. Yet, as journalist George Gilder reveals, most of these same figures were actively developing the very technology they claim to fear. Their reasoning? If we don't build it, someone else will. But is this dystopian future truly inevitable, or just a projection of Silicon Valley's own anxieties? To answer that, we must revisit a pivotal moment in the history of mathematics. In 1930, the renowned mathematician David Hilbert stood before a conference in Königsberg, now Kaliningrad, and declared his vision of a perfect, all-encompassing mathematical system, one that could explain everything with absolute certainty. But just a day earlier, a younger scholar named Kurt Gödel had shattered that dream. His incompleteness theorems proved that no logical system can ever be truly complete. Every framework relies on unprovable assumptions from outside itself. As Gilder notes, this flaw in the dream of total knowledge is not a bug, but a feature of reality itself. This revelation holds the key to understanding AI's limits. For artificial intelligence to become the self-improving, humanity-threatening force of sci-fi nightmares, it would need to function as a closed system, one that could absorb all data and evolve beyond human control. But Gödel's work proves that's impossible. AI cannot rewrite its own rules without external input. It will always depend on the programmers who shape its objectives. As one skeptic at the Monterey meeting reportedly argued, the danger isn't that machines will outthink us, it's that we'll blindly trust them too. The true risk, then, lies not in autonomous AI, but in human arrogance. The engineers' warning of superintelligent machines are often the same ones convinced their creations could surpass natural intelligence. Yet history shows that systems, whether mathematical or technological, are only as wise as their makers. Big data alone won't spawn a Skynet scenario that would require deliberate human choices. The real question isn't can AI dominate us? But will we dominate our own tools? As we stand at this crossroads, one truth remains: the future of AI isn't written in code, but in the minds of those who wield it. Next, the crumbling foundations of big data, and why blockchain could rewrite the rules. Key takeaway 3: Academic innovation at a crossroads, how cryptocurrency and rebellion are reshaping education. While many American universities remain entrenched in tradition, some institutions are boldly embracing the future. In 2013, Guatemala's Universidad Francisco Marroquín made history as the first university in the Americas to accept Bitcoin payments, a visionary move that stands in stark contrast to the stagnation plaguing many elite institutions. As George Gilder highlights in Life After Google, this divergence reveals a critical question: are universities preparing students to solve tomorrow's problems, or are they clinging to outdated models that prioritize reputation over real innovation? The contrast couldn't be clearer. While Harvard pours energy into symbolic gestures like divesting from fossil fuels, teaching students what to oppose rather than how to create, other schools treat education as a luxury commodity. Under former President Stephen Trachtenberg, George Washington University doubled tuition to nearly $60,000 without commensurate improvements in educational quality, reducing degrees to what Trachtenberg himself called trophies. This credentialism, Gilder suggests, reflects a deeper crisis. Institutions that reward compliance over creativity are ill-equipped for an era of rapid technological change. Yet alternatives are emerging. The Thiel Fellowship, founded by entrepreneur Peter Thiel, offers a radical proposition: $100,000 grants encouraging young visionaries to leave college and pursue groundbreaking ventures. Spearheaded by Danielle Strachman and Mike Gibson, who later launched the 1517 Fund, the fellowship embodies what Gilder calls intellectual rebellion. Named after Martin Luther's 95 Theses, the 1517 Fund published its own manifesto declaring that true innovation often happens outside traditional academia. The results speak for themselves. Fellows like Austin Russell, whose company Luminar now supplies Toyota with laser radar for self-driving cars, and Ethereum creator Vitalik Buterin have reshaped industries while bypassing conventional education. At the heart of this movement lies blockchain technology, the force powering Bitcoin and Ethereum, and perhaps the ultimate challenge to institutional gatekeepers. As Gilder notes, blockchain isn't just a new payment system, it's a paradigm shift toward decentralization, transparency, and individual empowerment. While universities debate fossil fuels and raise tuition, the real educational revolution may be happening elsewhere, in the labs of dropout entrepreneurs, the code of decentralized networks, and the minds of those daring enough to rethink learning itself. The question isn't whether academia will adapt, but whether it can afford not to. Next, decoding the blockchain revolution, and why it threatens more than just banks. Key takeaway for the Cryptocosm revolution: how Bitcoin and blockchain are redefining trust in the digital age. In October 2008, as the world grappled with a financial crisis rooted in centralized failures, an anonymous visionary known as Satoshi Nakamoto unveiled Bitcoin, a radical alternative to traditional systems of money and data. This moment marked the birth of what George Gilder calls the Cryptocosm, a new digital paradigm where power doesn't reside in vulnerable hubs like banks or tech giants, but in the hands of individuals. At its core, this revolution isn't just about currency, it's about reinventing security, identity, and trust itself. The Cryptocosm operates on a simple but profound principle: decentralized ownership. Unlike Google or Facebook, which hoard personal data on hackable servers, blockchain technology gives each user two unique keys, a public one to receive encrypted messages, and a private one to unlock them. When you send Bitcoin, your transaction is sealed with a digital signature that proves authenticity without exposing your identity. These signatures form the backbone of Bitcoin's innovation, an immutable, transparent ledger secured by cryptography rather than corporate promises. But how does this ledger stay trustworthy? Enter mining, the heartbeat of blockchain. Every 10 minutes, a new block records the latest Bitcoin transactions, stamped with a verified timestamp. This timestamp isn't issued by a central authority, it's earned through a computational race. Miners across the network compete to solve complex puzzles, and the winner generates a proof of work that certifies the block's validity. In return, new Bitcoins are minted as rewards. This process makes fraud nearly impossible. Tampering with a single block would require rewriting every preceding block across countless computers, a feat beyond even the most powerful hackers. The result is a system where every Bitcoin's journey is traceable yet tamper-proof, public yet private. Each block links to the next in an unbreakable chain, creating a financial ledger that's transparent and secure, a stark contrast to the opaque, breach-prone databases of traditional institutions. As Gilder notes, this isn't just a technical upgrade, it's a philosophical shift. Blockchain replaces intermediaries with mathematics, turning trust from a vulnerability into a protocol. No wonder industries far beyond finance, from healthcare to voting systems, are racing to adopt it. The age of centralized control is waning, the Cryptocosm is rising. Next, the fall of big data monopolies, and why blockchain could be their kryptonite. Key takeaway 5: the blockchain renaissance, Ethereum, smart contracts, and the new architects of the internet. The mystery of Satoshi Nakamoto's identity took a dramatic turn in 2016 when Australian computer scientist Craig Wright claimed to be Bitcoin's creator. But his assertion crumbled under scrutiny, most notably from a 24-year-old skeptic who demanded the only irrefutable proof, a cryptographic signature from Satoshi's private key. That skeptic was Vitalik Buterin, the prodigious college dropout behind Ethereum, a platform poised to eclipse even Bitcoin's revolutionary potential. Launched in 2015, Ethereum expanded blockchain's reach far beyond currency. Its breakthrough? Smart contracts, self-executing agreements where assets, money, property, even intellectual rights, automatically transfer when conditions are met, with no need for intermediaries. These digital contracts bypass traditional gatekeepers like banks and regulators, unleashing a wave of innovation. By 2017, Ethereum had become a launchpad for decentralized startups, while its native currency, Ether, surged to a $60 billion market cap, half of Bitcoin's, in just 3 years. As scholar Andreas Antonopoulos observed, the competition between Bitcoin and Ethereum might resemble a lion and a shark, each ruling separate domains, one as digital gold, the other as the backbone of a new internet. Yet Ethereum isn't alone in reshaping the cryptocosm. Blockstack, founded by Princeton computer scientist Muneeb Ali, is constructing an entire decentralized web. Its architecture, a minimalist duo of blockchain infrastructure, the monolith, and a user-friendly interface, the metaverse allows developers to build apps that return data ownership to users. Imagine a world where your social media posts, medical records, or creative work exist on your terms, immune to corporate surveillance or hacks. This isn't just a software revolution. From hardware startups challenging Google's server farms to artists tokenizing their work as NFTs, the cryptocosm is dismantling centralized power structures brick by brick. The question is no longer if blockchain will disrupt the old order, but how fast, and who will lead the charge. Next, the hardware uprising, how decentralized tech is coming for Google's servers. Key takeaway 6: The hardware revolution, how decentralized tech is challenging the cloud giants. For decades, Silicon Valley's trajectory followed an unshakable pattern. Every 10 years, a seismic shift in computing would render old architectures obsolete. The mainframes of the 1970s gave way to personal computers, which in turn surrendered to Google's cloud empire. Now, as Moore's law and Bell's law predict another transformation, an unexpected contender is leading the charge: hardware innovation, but with a twist. This time, it's not about centralized power, but distributed efficiency. Companies like NVIDIA, under Chief Scientist Bill Daly, are pioneering a new generation of processors that prioritize parallel processing over raw speed. These cool chips can handle multiple tasks simultaneously with minimal energy, a stark contrast to the power-hungry behemoths fueling Google's data centers. The implications are profound, from self-driving cars processing real-time sensor data to decentralized networks that eschew centralized clouds entirely. As Daly notes, the future belongs to architectures that can do more with less, not brute force their way through problems. Meanwhile, blockchain is rewriting the rules of hardware itself. Startups like Golem, dubbed Airbnb for computers, are leveraging Ethereum smart contracts to create a global marketplace for idle processing power. By pooling resources from individual users, Golem forms a virtual supercomputer capable of handling tasks like 3D rendering at a fraction of traditional costs, all without relying on vulnerable siren servers. Each transaction is secured by blockchain, ensuring both transparency and privacy. The question isn't whether this movement can be stopped, but how quickly it will eclipse the old guard. As centralized clouds strain under unsustainable energy demands and security risks, decentralized alternatives offer a path forward, one where power is distributed, efficiency is paramount, and users, not corporations, control their resources. The hardware revolution isn't just coming, it's already here. Next, the final showdown: can blockchain topple Google's empire for good? Key takeaway 7: A gold standard paradox, why Bitcoin falls short as a digital store of value. For centuries, gold stood as the bedrock of global finance, a stable, corrosion-resistant anchor in the turbulent seas of economics. When Isaac Newton established the gold standard in the 18th century, he recognized what made gold unique: its supply grew slowly and predictably, immune to the whims of governments or markets. Even as mining technology advanced, dwindling reserves balanced the scales, preserving gold's value. This delicate equilibrium made it the perfect benchmark for currencies, until nations abandoned it, opting instead for the volatility of fiat money. In the ashes of the 2008 financial crisis, Satoshi Nakamoto envisioned Bitcoin as a digital successor to gold. His design mirrored gold's scarcity, a capped supply of 21 million coins, with mining rewards having periodically to simulate the increasing difficulty of extracting gold from the earth. The blockchain's proof-of-work mechanism, Nakamoto hoped, would create a decentralized, inflation-proof currency. Yet as economics blogger Mike Kendall argues, Bitcoin's fatal flaw lies in its rigidity. Unlike gold, whose value fluctuates mildly with supply and demand, Bitcoin's fixed supply renders it hypersensitive to speculation. In just 1 year, 2017 to 2018, its price swung from $1,183 to $19,401, a volatility that undermines its utility as a stable standard. The irony is stark. Nakamoto's genius birthed an unhackable ledger and a trillion-dollar crypto ecosystem, but his economic model may be a miscalculation. Gold's stability arose not just from scarcity, but from its elasticity, its ability to absorb shocks through gradual supply adjustments. Bitcoin, by contrast, has no such buffer. As Gilder suggests, the Cryptocosm's next leap forward may require currencies that blend blockchain security with the dynamism of real-world economics. The race is on to design a true digital gold, one that can finally unshackle finance from the chaos of central banks and tech monopolies alike. Final thought: the dream of a decentralized future lives on, but its currency remains a work in progress. This concludes our journey through life after Google. The Cryptocosm is rising. Will you be part of its evolution? In Life After Google, The Fall of Big Data and the Rise of the Blockchain Economy, a revolutionary vision, George Gilder delivers a bold prophecy: the age of centralized data monopolies like Google is ending, and a new era of decentralization, powered by blockchain, is dawning. Gilder argues that Google's model, built on harvesting free user data for advertising, is fundamentally flawed. Its reliance on big data and centralized servers creates vulnerabilities, from privacy breaches to systemic fragility. The Cryptocosm, a decentralized alternative fueled by blockchain, promises to restore security, ownership, and innovation to the digital world. At the heart of this shift is Bitcoin, the pioneering cryptocurrency that introduced the world to blockchain's potential. Unlike traditional systems, blockchain operates without central authorities, using cryptographic keys and distributed ledgers to ensure transparency and security. Gilder highlights how Bitcoin's design mimics the scarcity of gold but critiques its volatility, suggesting that future cryptocurrencies must evolve to achieve true stability. Yet, its underlying technology, decentralized, tamper-proof, and trustless, is already reshaping finance and beyond. Ethereum takes this further with smart contracts, self-executing agreements that bypass middlemen. Vitalik Buterin's platform has unleashed a wave of innovation, from decentralized apps, DApps, to tokenized assets. Meanwhile, projects like Blockstack and Golem are reimagining the internet itself, replacing Google's Siren servers with peer-to-peer networks where users control their data and computing power. Gilder paints a future where individuals, not corporations, own their digital lives. But the revolution isn't just digital. Hardware innovations, like NVIDIA's energy-efficient processors, are decentralizing computing power, while startups like Golem pool idle resources into a global supercomputer. These advancements challenge Google's energy-guzzling data centers, proving that efficiency and decentralization go hand in hand. Gilder underscores how this hardware renaissance aligns with blockchain's ethos, empowering individuals over monopolies. Yet, the path forward isn't without hurdles. Gilder acknowledges Bitcoin's economic limitations and the need for cryptocurrencies to mature. He also warns of Silicon Valley's entrenched resistance, as giants like Google cling to outdated models. But history favors disruption. Just as PCs dethroned mainframes, blockchain could topple today's tech titans. The question isn't if, but when. For academia and institutions, the message is clear: adapt or become obsolete. Gilder applauds pioneers like Guatemala's Universidad Francisco Marroquín for embracing Bitcoin, while critiquing elite universities for prioritizing dogma over innovation. The Thiel Fellowship's success, backing dropouts like Vitalik Buterin, proves that the next breakthroughs may come from outside traditional systems. So, what does life after Google look like? Imagine an internet where privacy is default, transactions are seamless, and creativity flourishes without gatekeepers. A world where data isn't mined but owned, where trust is built into code, and where power is distributed, not hoarded. This isn't just a technological shift, it's a reclaiming of human agency. Join the revolution. Dear listeners, the future Gilder describes isn't distant, it's unfolding now. If this vision excites you, like this video to spread the word, share it with a curious friend, and subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking insights. Together, let's explore ideas that uplift, enlighten, and empower. The Cryptocosm is rising. Will you be part of it? Stay curious, stay bold, and as always, keep chasing the ideas that change the world. Until next time, much love to you all.